Hello, everyone. Thank you for choosing to watch my presentation on narcissistic personality disorder. My name is Alicia Lee Selwyn, and this is for Abnormal Psychology with Dr. Peter Wilson. In this presentation, I'm going to define and describe NPD, talk about its symptoms, causes, risk factors, prevalence in the United States, the diagnosis, as well as treatment and research around NPD. So, what is narcissistic personality disorder? Well, it's a complex mental health condition, a personality disorder defined by patterns of grandiosity, a constant need for admiration, and a lack of empathy for others. It's part of the DSM 5's cluster B personality disorders. People with NPD may present as confident or charismatic, but underneath they often struggle with insecurity and identity issues, which is what contributes to their excessive need for admiration and validation from others. Some key traits of narcissistic individuals include grandiosity, the need for admiration, and the lack of empathy. Some common and diagnostic symptoms of NPD are an inflated sense of self-importance, fantasies about unlimited power or success, and the deep need for excessive praise. They exploit others, arrogant behavior, feelings of entitlement, feelings of superiority, and they're often jealous of other people who have things that they want, and they're predominantly convinced that other people are jealous of them. Many people with this disorder lack empathy, take advantage of others, and behave arrogantly. What's important to know and remember about NPD is that the severity varies widely from person to person, as well as which or how the disorder manifests is different from person to person. NPD can seriously impact relationships. Because empathy is often lacking, emotional closeness becomes difficult for people who suffer from NPD. NPD individuals, they might use manipulation or love bombing, intense flattery, which is followed often by devaluation. Criticism, even when it's gentle or constructive, can trigger extreme reactions in these people. These patterns often leave other people feeling confused or emotionally hurt, which makes it difficult for them to maintain long-term friendships or partnerships, which often results in conflict, emotional manipulation, or abuse. The causes of NPD are believed to be a mixture of genetics, environment, and neurobiology. Some of these people may inherit traits that predispose them to the disorder, but others may develop it in response to early experiences, either excessive criticism or praise from parent, guardians, or inconsistent caregiving. Brain studies also show differences in areas related to self-regulation and empathy. There can also be a real cultural influence because society, like ours, promote individualism and superficial success. Some risk factors involved are comorbidities. The comorbidities that exist are depression, anxiety disorder, substance use disorder, and other personality disorders are the comorbidities that are commonly seen in NPD individuals. More risk factors include the feelings that they have of failure, rejection, or defeat can lead them to suicidal ideation, as well as those struggles with comorbidities such as depression and anxiety. The prevalence in the United States is estimated by the National Institute of Health, and the DSM-5 research shows that approximately 0.5% to 6.2% of the US population may have narcissistic personality disorder. I use this language because a lot of people who have NPD are unaware. Underdiagnosis is common. Many people with this disorder don't seek help, or they resist diagnosis. And the rates are higher in clinical or forensic settings, such as therapy or prison populations. And I believe that because this occurs because these people seek mental health treatment inside of these institutions. What this all means in real numbers. So the population of the US is around 330 million, and NPD roughly affects 1.6 to 20 million people in the US. Now, I believe the percentage, it could be low because of the underdiagnosis. But what is also important to note is that it's more common in men than women. Up to 75% of diagnosed cases are males. Diagnosis. So NPD is diagnosed through a comprehensive clinical assessment with a mental health professional, such as a psychologist or a psychiatrist or a therapist. It's not based on any one single behavior, but on consistent patterns over time of these behaviors. It often coexists with conditions like depression, anxiety, or substance use, which can make diagnosis and treatment more complex. The Diagnostic Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders states that someone must exhibit at least 5 of the 9 criteria listed in the manual. And I've listed here all 9 of the criteria, which I've previously mentioned in the slides before, including grandiosity, fantasies of power and success, superiority, possessing a strong need for admiration of others, a sense of entitlement, they're interpersonally exploitive, lack empathy, exhibit envy, jealousy, or expect it from others, and they show arrogant behavior. Treatment options. So there's no cure for NPD, but treatment can help people better manage their symptoms and improve their relationships. Psychotherapy, particularly cognitive behavioral therapy and schema therapy, have been shown to be the most effective approach for NPD. Medication can be used if other conditions like depression are present. Mindfulness and emotional regulation strategies can also be helpful tools. Research. So the research surrounding NPD, there's a lot of research, obviously, that's continuously developing. But some of the significant research that I found is a study done by the University of Chicago Medicine Department, published in 2020. It proposed that NPD may have biological basis specifically linked to increased oxidative stress and interpersonal hypersensitivity. Well, NPD often presents with arrogance and a lack of empathy, What the research suggests is an internal hypersensitivity to the environment. This study opens up avenues for further brain-based research into the mechanisms of NPD. The researchers also considered how modern culture might influence these biological and behavioral factors. Narcissism has become more obvious in modern culture, owing to societal developments that prioritize individual accomplishments, beauty, social standing. Social media sites in particular create an environment in which self-promotion and validation-seeking activities are frequently rewarded, potentially fostering narcissistic tendencies. Some of the research has also led to advancement in diagnostic approach, which is great. The understanding of NPD has been advanced further through this research, which has led to the addition of the dimensional model of diagnosis to the categorical diagnostic model. While the DSM-5 traditionally defines NPD through the 9 criteria previously mentioned in this presentation, that model of diagnosis was criticized as being too narrow, and the dimensional model offers a more critically nuanced approach to a disorder that has varying degrees of manifestation and often occurs comorbidly, which can complicate diagnosis, and many personality disorders share symptoms which also makes diagnosis difficult. The DSM-5 and the ICD, they both strongly recommend a hybrid diagnosis that combines both models for more accuracy, which also helps inform treatment. So a little bit more about this dimensional model that's included in the DSM-5. The dimensional model emphasizes 4 areas of functioning in NPD individuals. Identity, these 4 areas are identity, self-direction, empathy, and intimacy, along with 2 personality traits, grandiosity and attention-seeking. This approach provides a more in-depth description of individual personality patterns, subjective motivations, and experiences, and accounts for variations in presentations of the disorder. Presentation conclusion. So in conclusion, narcissistic personality disorder is a complicated clinical disorder. It's defined by excessive self-focus, desire for admiration, and a lack of empathy. NPD is rooted in early life experiences and affected by modern cultural ideals. It can appear in many ways and have a negative impact on individuals and relationships, which further leads to impairment and destruction in their lives. If you are curious and you want to learn more, I do encourage you to explore some of our trusted resources, such as the DSM-5, the APA, and the National Institute of Mental Health. And most importantly, if you or someone you know is struggling with NPD, talk to a licensed therapist, because support and help are available. And here are my resources. Thank you.